Restoring Men in History. And J.K. Rowling has been tweeting since this Cass report came out. And it's kind of vindicating her against the establishment and the powers that be and everything, right? Just like we're now hearing from Fauci. So what's rising in many cases? The truth. Why? Because of individuals like yourself that stood, or J.K. Rowling that stood and brought it to light, right? The truth is rising, and many times the truth will prevail. J.K. Rowling, Daniel Radcliffe, Emily Watson, they had a battle going on. What about J.K. Rowling? She has courage, she takes risks, she has resilience. She stayed the fight since we've been tracking it. We're going to go back to some 2020 tweets of hers, and today, May 30th tweet, and then April 10th, 11th tweets. So she's standing for children. The truth can prevail. She has courage, she has resilience. Think of what's going on with Fauci now and the mask and all that. Truth's rising from the narratives that were sent out and the people that were censored. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. So, let's go to one of her tweets soon, but Britain has banned puberty blockers. So after all this battle and fight, Britain has stood and banned puberty blockers. And now some governments are moving toward the direction of where many of us wanted them to be, and J.K. Rowling wanted them to be, and what she was fighting and standing about. Here's the final Cass report. And here are some excerpts from what she posted May 30th, 2024. Conversation. J.K. Rowling, Britain has banned puberty blockers. This is the relevant portion of the Cass report. You can see the Cass report here. And she pulled out these medical pathways, the original rationale for use of puberty blockers. Now, what they told you, what it's going to be, right? Remember during that fiasco years of the mass jabs, what they were telling you the narrative was? Truth rising in that, truth rising with the jab in here. Medical pathways, the original rationale for use of, you remember this, of puberty blockers was that this would buy time to think by delaying onset of puberty. Now, it was a cultural Marxist agenda to destroy sex. But let's move on. The ability to pass in later life. Subsequently, it was suggested that they may also improve body image and psychological well-being. The systematic review undertaken by the University of York found multiple studies demonstrating, watch this, get ready, that puberty blockers exert their intended effect in suppressing puberty, and also that bone density is compromised, health damaging, during puberty suppression. However, no changes, we get this, you ready? They sold it as this, watch what happens. No changes in gender dysphoria or body satisfaction were demonstrated. So you're gonna see who was right, who was wrong. You're seeing that with Fauci. You've seen it here, the medical establishment. There were insufficient, inconsistent evidence about the effects of puberty suppression on psychological or psychosocial well-being, cognitive development, cardiometabolic risk of fertility. That's significant. If you want to decrease the population, get everybody on puberty blockers, right? So there's a faction that wants to decrease the population. There's a faction that wants to end sex. This is bad news. Moreover, given that the vast majority of young people started on puberty blockers proceed from puberty blockers to masculizing and feminizing hormones, there is no evidence that puberty blockers buy time to think, and some concern that they may change the trajectory of psychosexual and gender identity development. So important, that whole narrative blown up. This is what J.K. Rowling battled for. This is what she stood for, and she withstood and took all the attacks of the left and the cultural Marxist. Okay, let's keep going with the post. Over the last 4 years, Hillary Cass has conducted the most robust review of the medical evidence for transitioning children that's ever been conducted. Mere hours after it was released, this is J.K. Rowling tweeting, to the press and public, committed ideologues are doubling down. And we've seen this before, right? When they're proven wrong, when the truth comes out, the ideologues double down. They kept doing that through all these different instances over the last few years, right? From Russia collusion on. Now, this Emma Russell, we put her to the Cass review as a flawed one, so these are people that are doubling down. The Labor Party must stand against the erosion of trans rights. So they are doubling down in the face of this evidence and this long research. And there's even a note on this tweet of hers. Far from being flawed and ideologically led, the study by Dr. Cass has been 4 years in the making and was conducted by a former president of the Royal College of Pediatrics and Child Health. So anyway, credentials, we've seen them kind of blown up through the years anyway, but she has the credentials, but you know, We've seen a lot of experts wrong. But the point is, supposedly this is a very detailed and accurate assessment, supposedly. J.K. Rowling, April 10th, the consequences of this scandal, and to get this, and you can tell it, you can almost feel it in her heart in these messages. You can feel the emotion and the passion of J.K. Rowling for children here. Watch this. The consequences of this scandal will play out for decades. You cheered it on. You did all you could to impede and misrepresent research. You tried to bully people out of their jobs for opposing you. That's what they do, right? They tried to get you fired during that event that was going on for years and the shutdowns, right? If you didn't wear a mask, if you didn't get the jab, they were trying to fire you. They tried to coerce. And they did it with this. You tried to bully people out of their jobs for opposing you. They censor, they narrative, they get you fired for using the incorrect language according to them. Young people have been experimented on, left infertile and in pain. So if there was a faction that wanted to, say, decrease the population, this would work perfectly well, wouldn't it? Or if there was a faction that wanted you on medical treatments and drugs all your life, follow the money, what would that look like? And who would benefit from it? To put children on pills the rest of their life. And yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of those videos with all the pills where they say, I regret this decision. But the personal testimonies, anecdotal, are valuable and painful. How many lives were damaged forever? How many will regret it? J.K. Rowling, April 10th. I thought the last tweet was going to be my last, but I just burst into tears. The cast review may be a watershed moment, but it comes too late for detransitioners who've written me. So all these people wrote her. Heartbreaking letters of regret. Today's not a triumph. It's the laying bare of a tragedy. Now, if you like this mission, please subscribe, like, comment, and hit that notification button. J.K. Rowling, so this is horrific what happened to these children, right? Horrific. So remember the narratives that go around that can be incorrect and inaccurate from a government with purpose. All these governments, all these institutions were right pushing it, right? Department of Education here, over in England, NIH, I believe, was pushing it. But many, many people were pushing it, right? Many institutions. Now they're reversing. Some of them, not all, not here. All right. Media selling their narrative, pushing their agenda. Follow the money. Who's making money on it? Who's getting power and control? Who does it gain? Who has the agenda? But always remember this. One person, J.K. Rowling, stood, and you can stand in wherever you do it, in your neighborhood, your clubs, your environments, your library, wherever you're at. One person not adopting their language has an impact. You have an impact. You make a difference. One person. And not adopting the language, because they want you to adopt their language. They want to coerce you to say it. You don't have to. J.K. Rowling, April 10th, replying to J.K. Rowling. And if I sound angry, it's because I'm bloody angry. I read Cass this morning, and my anger's been mounting all day. Kids have been irreversibly harmed, and thousands are complicit, not just medics, but the celebrity mouthpieces, and we'll get to Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson and the others later, questioning media and cynical corporations. So who was in the tank? Corporations were in the tank, remember? I don't know if we're going to pull those up. I'm not probably going to go into these. I'm going to stick to the tweets. But all the corporations were pushing that, right? Department of Education pushing it. Institutions pushing it. Hollywood pushing it, right? And Daniel Radcliffe and Emily Watson went right into it, and we'll get to them and their comments. Now, back in 2020, around June, Daniel put this out, and it's from the Trevor Project, Transgender Women Are Women. Now, I think this was after, and we'll read the quote that J.K. Rowling started it with, I believe. We're going to go back to the context of 20 when she's talking about menstruating people. We'll read that comment. Transgender women are women. Any statement to the contrary erases the identity. So we're tying these past comments so you know what she's talking about when she calls out celebrities. She's talking about these people, right? Any statement to the contrary erases the identity and dignity of transgender people and goes against all advice given by Professional Healthcare Association. Well, we found out about that, right? And simple facts, women are women, men are men, right? And now there's the Cash report, backing it up. And who does it harm? Women. If you're a cultural Marxist and you want to destroy women, this is the perfect way to destroy women. You wipe them out. You eliminate women by... Watch. She talks. And he talks about being an ally. This is why she also calls him out, I believe. He talks about being an ally. So you see why she made the comment. I'm still learning how to be a better ally. This is Daniel Radcliffe. You want to join me in learning about transgender and non-binary identities? Check out the Trevor Project's Guide to be an Ally. So, he was an ally, right? to transgender and non-binary youth. Now, it's an introductory educational resource that covers a whole range of topics, including the differences between sex and gender. So watch, what are the cultural Marxists trying to end? Sex, right? And then create all these different genders. That destroys the woman, the man, the family, everything, right? So he was all in, she's calling it out. So you needed to know that. So Glamour magazine had these statements in it. Quote, just waiting for Dan and Emma to give you a very public apology, the follower wrote on X, so this is back on X. Safe in the knowledge that you will forgive them. Rowling replied, and you know what she said? This is great. It's not safe, I'm afraid. Celebs who cozied up to a movement intent on eroding women's hard-won rights and who use their platforms to cheer on the transition of minors can save their apologies for whom? For traumatized detransitioners and vulnerable women reliant on single-sex spaces. And you know we advocate for single-sex spaces. Now for context, let's go back to some comments, hers and Daniel's and Emma's. Daniel Radcliffe says, Rowling's anti-trans stance makes him sad. In an interview with The Atlantic published on April 30th, Radcliffe said that since Rowling began tweeting and writing about trans rights, he's had no direct contact with her. And going back, watch the language of some cultural Marxists and others. June 6, 2020, Rowling tweeted. Now this is what they do. They try to change the language and try to get you to conform to it. Rowling retweeted an op-ed piece that discussed people who menstruate. And remember the birthing mothers? They're always the left changing the language, trying to push you into adopting it. People who menstruate apparently take an issue with the fact that the story did not use the word women. People who menstruate, right, I mean, it's women. I'm sure there used to be a word for those people. Someone help me out, she's funny here. Woman, woman, we'll put it up. She wrote, so you can constantly have seen some, so you've seen this. Cultural Marxists try to control the language. The left tries to control the language. Shut down the dialogue because we have the better ideas, and the truth will what? Prevail. The truth will win and prevail, and our ideas will win and prevail, so they try to shut it down, get you to adopt their language and not stand. Eliminating women is the goal. Eliminating mothers, and eliminating women, eliminating families, eliminating men. No sex. Going on. The initial tweet garnered a lot of backlash, but the Harry Potter author did not relent. She never relents. She keeps on going. She's like a never-given Churchill. And wrote in her views in more detail. If sex isn't real, there's no same-sex attraction. We can put this up too. If sex isn't real, the lived reality of women globally is erased. I know and love trans people, but erasing the concept of sex removes the ability of many to meaningfully discuss their lives. It isn't hate to speak the truth, she tweeted. The idea that women like me, who have been emphatic to trans people for decades, feel in kinship because they're vulnerable in the same way as women, i.e. to male violence, hate trans people because they think sex is real and has lived consequences, is a nonsense. Right, they want to eliminate sex. Factions of the cultural Marxists and the progressives want to eliminate sex. Women, family. Emma Watson, trans people, right, this is Emma Watson. Here it comes again. Remember earlier she's calling out the celebrities. We want to go through these tweets. Trans people are who they say they are and deserve to live out their lives without being constantly questioned or told they aren't who they say are. First of all, men are men, women are women, and people can do what they want. They have the freedom. They can express themselves. They can dress the way they want. But it doesn't make you have to adopt the language to them. We can be kind to all, kind to everybody, but it doesn't make them woman. And we can't let them wipe out women with this because it'll wipe out women. So women are women, men are men. It does not make them a woman. You identifying as a woman doesn't make you a woman. And another tweet, and we'll get to why this is important. Emily Watson says, I donate to mermaids. So if you can, perhaps feel inclined to do the same. She's pushing people, right, to give this mermaids. We'll get to mermaids. J.K. Rowling's tweeting about that too. That's why I'm bringing it in here. Following Happy Sending Love X, Happy Pride 2020. That's back in 2020. April 11th tweet, JK. She's talking about the mermaids on April 11th. Absolute, total, shameless lies. Your ex-CEO referred children to the Tavistock boy, Tavistock. Gender clinic. And I wish we had Courtney Turner to come in and talk here, but she's a specialist on Tavistock. She gave me some books on Tavistock years ago. Very good. Tavistock is bad news. So anybody related to this Tavistock gender clinic, right there, bad news. So we couldn't want that. In fact, we could do a whole thing of Tavistock. Okay, Mermaids has repeatedly claimed, now the tweet goes on, Mermaids has repeatedly claimed puberty blockers are reversible. Remember that narrative? Sent out breast binders to girls as young as 13 years old. This is how far they will go for this agenda. What do they have to gain? Let's keep in mind who's gaining, not the children. And you insisted publicly, unless children are affirmed, your fingerprints are all over the catastrophe of child transition and those who campaigned for you and allowed you to embed yourselves in the healthcare systems, and they need to be held account. So then JK tweets this one. This is still, I think there's a response. I don't know, we didn't do medical. I think there was a video like that I saw when I was scrolling through her Twitter account. So I think Mermaids put up a video of the CEO and said, we don't tell people what to do or something like that. I didn't watch the whole piece. But then she goes and says, this is still on your website today. What is this if not medical advice? You're knowingly pushing the use of puberty blockers, even after the recent Mayo Clinton report said that they can cause mild to severe sex gland atrophy, withering testicles, fertility problems, and even cancer. Wicked bad news, right? So we'll wrap it up here. How far will these factions go? And what will be the cost? How many children will they destroy to get their agenda, to get their narratives done? What is it? Power, control, money. What are they gaining? Take a look, follow the money. Who's gaining? It's not the children. It's not the families, right? And whose goal? Cultural Marxists what? Want to destroy sex. This is a way to destroy sex. Get kids on all this medical jazz, let's call it what it is, drugs, all their life. Who gains from that? So J.K. Rowling is a billionaire. She didn't have to do this. Fantastic author. I remember the lines for Harry Potter books and dropping off my friend, and she wanted the book, so I had to drop her off because we were in first in line. I remember ordering her the book to get it first. There was a buzz around J.K. Rowling. The funny also thing is some people said she wasn't even a success, which is hilarious. I think one tweet, as I was reading all these tweets, we could have gone into more. Some of them were quite mean. But look, here's the thing. One person standing for the truth can have an impact and make a difference. That means you can. Don't adopt their language. She has courage. She was a billionaire that did not have to do this. She did not have to fight this battle. She has stood for it years and years and been resilient. She has had courage. And she chose to stand for the truth. And now the truth is rising. And it's coming out in many areas, not in this one. Look at how many truths are rising right at the same time. Look at what's being revealed and what's being learned. She's standing for children. At great personal cost and attacks. Again, she had a great life. She didn't have to do this. But she, with courage and resilience, has had an impact, and you can have an impact. One person, wherever you go, whether it's your library, your bookstore, wherever you go, don't adopt the language and stand for the truth. And you too can stand for children and the truth, and for women and men and family. Thank you. If you like this mission, please like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button.